Hi, I'm Joe Lindsay. Welcome to How's the Form, a podcast for men in, let's say, the second half of life, like myself, over 50.
How's the Form is brought to you by Age NI and is part of the Good Vibrations Over 50s Men's Health Programme, which is funded by Movember.
My guest this week is a politician, author, publisher and businessman. As Lord Mayor of Belfast, he became one of the most prolific Twitter users of an era, and he was Minister of Finance in a Northern Ireland executive. You're now most likely to see him running, effortlessly, in short shorts, beating heavy traffic, or casually finishing a marathon. It's Máirtín O'Muller. Máirtín, how's the form?
Good to see you.
You too.
I believe,
How are you? How's the form?
I believe you've left us.
Well,
for a while.
Yeah.
The pasture screener.
Yeah, I'm Liverpool now.
Mersey.
I'm a Scouser now.
What a great city.
Brilliant city. Incredible. Love it.
You. Go.
Now, we are nearly approaching your 40th year in politics. Next year, I believe, is your 40th year. Before that, you were a newsman. You were at Andersonstown News and all that. What made you make the jump into politics?
Well, if I'm still in politics, it's with a very, very small P. I stood down from Stormont in January 2020.
Yeah.
Time moves very quick. I was amazed the other day to think back. That was before COVID. It was 4 years ago. So my only involvement in politics now really is to wrap doors at election time, which I feel obliged to do, which I'm happy to do, which gives you an insight into society you don't get any other way because people talk to you at the doorstep.
Sure.
Number one. Number two, people tell you the truth at the doorstep. Despite people not wanting to, they tell you who they're going to vote for and they tell you what to think of you. So it's a really good way to get under the skin of society. On the other hand, everything I've been involved in since I was at university is political in that I believe deeply in trying to improve and change society. And as a young man, very young man, as a young boy, I thought that maybe change would come other ways in this very violent society we lived in. But change comes through politics.
Yes.
And despite the broken political system, the paralysed political system we have here, the shameful political system we have here, if you want to change things, you need to get involved in politics, whether that's your tenants group, whether it's your political party, whether it's your faith-based group, whether it's your refugee sanctuary group, whatever you're involved in, for me, is all politics. So I'm still involved in politics to a degree, but every other thing I'm involved in, whether business or newspapers or media or events, for me, it's all political with a small p.
Right. We're talking. These podcasts are about sort of your sort of physical and mental health and everything. During that time, it's been very difficult in terms of your mental health. I mean, it was a very dark time in this country to be involved in media for starting, in news, and then in politics during those very dark times. Did that affect you mentally, and how did you sort of get through that?
Well, I think we're a very wounded society, and you won't throw a stone. And we're here in the peace line. It's a good place to stop it. Use the metaphor of throwing a stone without touching someone in this society who is wounded and is carrying a cross because of the 30 years of war and troubles and conflict we went through. So everybody's affected. Am I affected as well? Yes, I believe I've been affected to my detriment by living through what was an absolute shit show. But those who were affected much worse are people who lost loved ones. Somebody coming to your door, they're up at night saying your loved one's been shot dead or been blown up or whatever. Are those who were active, are those who went to jail, including an awful lot of suffering, unnecessary suffering in jail, are those who actually were wounded and survived. So those are grievous hurts and pains and wounds which don't go away in your lifetime and probably don't go away in your children's lifetime. So we are, in my view, a very damaged society, fractured, flawed society. Did that affect me? Yes, but I wanted to presage what I said with much more serious people than me. But I found when I did 10 years in politics, in my view, 87, 97 in the council largely, and then 10 to 2020 in City Hall in Stormont. And I found both times when I stepped back that my entire demeanour, my mood settled.
Right.
And that political life here, not as bad as it was during the times of strife and warfare, is a very tense, unloving, tough place to be. So I made a big deal of it for me. I got through it, was able to get through it. But even to this day, who would want to be in politics in this place today? So yeah, and I'll talk a wee bit about that, just about what it means. So I always have a recurring dream of being caught on the Shankill Road and can't get out. And it's at night and I'm saying, what the am I doing here? I'm a Sinn Féin councillor. I'm on the Shankill Road. These guys know me, and I'm trying to get to the falls. And I usually either make it or don't make it or run into the wrong place, and then wake up. Now, that dream I haven't had in a while.
Wow.
So I avoid anything to do with any documentaries. I read the beautiful Martin Doyle's Dirty Linen. I read 10 chapters and put it away. I think I'm typical of thousands and tens of thousands of people in the society, and I'm not making a big deal about it. Don't worry about me.
Well, no, we've talked about it in this podcast. We've talked about it. Like, we talked about how, and I do believe, I think that there are a sizable amount of people in this country who have been traumatised by the Troubles but don't realise it.
I think that's true, and if it is true, let's focus on it. Why don't we have a minister for mental health and mental well-being? And of course, even suggesting that will be all sorts of power struggles within the Department of Health. But set your priorities by your budget and what you do. And in this totally broken down system, but if that's true, and it is true that we've more mental health problems than anybody else in Europe, we need to do something about it. And we're depending on sticking plasters and volunteers and groups that are hand to mouth waiting for funding. So it's like everything here, Joe. We have so many problems, and sometimes we just press pause and we come back a year later and say it's still not solved. Not good enough.
When you started, and even sort of maybe 5-10 years into your political career, did you sort of see the peace process happening? How did you keep your optimism for it?
No, I was totally gobsmacked when the ceasefire was called. I presumed we were in a cycle of don't want to reduce it to tit for tat.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, I know there were people on the Shankill going to bed every night thinking something happened today which is going to make me want to go out and continue this conflict. There were many sides to this conflict, and including the British. But I thought we were just caught in a cycle, this cycle with no light at the end of the tunnel. And, people wiser than me had said it was intractable, would never be resolved. So the greatest thing that ever happened to me was the ceasefire of 94, the peace process that followed. I lived in this abnormal society we all lived in. Like many people, I looked under my car in the morning to see if there was a bomb onto the car. Then I would stand on the front bumper and jump on it. Then I'd stand on the back bumper. Then I would drive it, turn it. Then I'd put the kids in the car. Listen, a lot of people did that. I'd drop bars on the inside of the door. All this.
We have talked about this in this podcast of how we normalised
absolutely
things that anybody else in the rest of the UK would go, you had to do what? Like the idea of my school bag being searched on the way to school. It was totally normalised. Could you imagine that started in Britain now, or in Scotland or in Wales, if they started searching school children? Wow. So
we put up with an awful lot of crap. Yeah. So the question is, if that's not normal, then what's the new normal going to be? And we still have peace walls right across the city, which probably won't go down. And there's some of that's solid reasons. People are happy living in cosy cul-de-sacs, and let's not any of us disturb that. But we have normalised the abnormal. And to get out of that, for all people like me do, or people involved in community life or community building, we need great leadership from politicians. And I'm hopeful. I travel in hope. I'm hopeful we can continue to make progress, because the progress we made, for a guy that believed there would never be a ceasefire, the progress we made is absolutely transformative, unbelievable, it's miraculous.
There's some very dark times. I mean, some very, I guess, with depressed like most of us, particularly if you were involved in politics. How did you keep going? What kept you going?
Well, I think I had no right not to keep going. I mean, there was terrible slaughter here on every side, and atrocities, and
because you had a chance to get out. I mean, you were a very successful businessman before you went into politics. You could have got out of this country. Why did you stay?
Well, I think I stayed for a reason everybody else stayed, because I love the place, because I wanted to make a success. But, to be honest, I also stayed because I thought some people would like me to leave, that I was very committed to the change that I wanted to see. It's a better question for my mother's generation. So, I'm one of 7 children. I grew up in the 60s in Andersdown. I said to my mother, because she lived in a war zone, like we would watch gun battles every day. We were crazy. We were standing at the window watching gun battles. And I said to her, why didn't you get out? Why didn't you get out? And she said it just was so hard. With 7 children. My father was a teacher. He'd been a sheet metal worker in the shipyard. He was a teacher. She said, how would you do that? So, in some ways, that's a great generation of people who said, no, listen, we're going to some way find a way through this and try and build the peace. So, for me, I'm committed to what I do. And funny, people say to me, oh, you're in the States. And I have an interest in the States, and a delighted to be involved with the Irish Echo in the States. But very happy to be buried here. And there's an interesting saying in Irish when you say sláinte, you also say Boas in Éireann, which means death in Ireland. And what they meant, there was so much emigration that people were drinking their health rolls and I hope I die in Ireland. So I'm committed to continuing to do this work of change that we're involved in.
What do you think the state of Northern Ireland about?
There's only 3 priorities for me. One is build a peace. Can't go back. Jesus, Mary and St. Joseph. Any lunatic.
There's times I think we could easily go back though.
Well, I don't think
that really scares me at times. I think we could go back as a country. I think it actually could happen easier than we think.
We can go backwards. We'll never go back because it was a unique set of circumstances at a certain time. But we can't go backwards. And in this competitive world, in this exciting world, if you're not going forward, then you're falling back. So we are going backwards a minute. I think we'll never go back. So building the peace, it won't happen on its own. There's a job for all of us, so I think that's important. Reconciliation is absolutely crucial and still not enough. And we're sitting in the Innovation Centre right on the peace line, one of the few places that has people from both sides of the peace line in it. But there isn't enough work in reconciliation. There's great work going on this Four Corners Festival that the Christian churches do, magnificent. There's small, everyday, small initiatives like people like the Skenos Centre in East Belfast or the Presbyterian International Meeting Point in the Lisburn Road working with refugees. There's great work going on, fantastic work. So build a peace, reconciliation, but also justice. There has to be justice for people. People have to be treated fairly. People have to be given a job, a roof over their head, treated with respect and dignity. For me, with the 2 elements missing, sometimes you'd see people come on TV and said, "Oh, we'll get those troublesome alienated youth, we'll get them jobs." But I've always wanted respect. I want to be treated with dignity. And, that's very much like where the Black Civil Rights Movement came from. So if that element's missing, then I think you're fostering trouble. But let's all work on those 3, or certainly for me, the 3 priorities. Build a peace, foster reconciliation, but, treat people well.
Physical health is always very important to you as well. I remember, you're now into running a lot. You were sort of into cycling and everything. What sort of benefits do you think that has?
Well, if I believe in anything, and I'm someone that's worked a lot with the faith communities in Belfast, and I say this to them a lot because I'm a person of no faith, I believe in running. I've only been running since I was 40. It's much bigger in my life than cycling. I was running this morning in the frost, and it was absolutely glorious.
Wow.
The great journalist Barney Rowan says the hardest part of any run is getting out the door. and that's true.
I find that difficult, the getting out the door bit.
Well,
I have to admit.
Well, if you can do that, the rest becomes easy.
I have bad knees, you see. I can't run, I have bad knees.
Yeah, and
swimming's my thing.
Well, I have a 2 knee operations and I have a fractured knee. I was out running this morning. So I have a great buddy of mine, Bill Evans, the Commissioner of Police in Boston. And when I was over in Boston, he said, "You got to run the commissioner. He runs marathons." And I said, "What time do you run?" He says, "I run at 4:45. I thought he meant the afternoon. He says, "I run 4:45 in the morning because I'm first at work at 6:30.
Wow.
So when I meet people to make excuses about not running, I tell them that story. So for me, it's great for mental health. So I've had a difficult week because I couldn't get out because of the snow. And getting out this morning has changed my entire mood. The circumstances haven't changed. They're just as difficult as they were. But it has changed my entire mood for the week. So it is life, in my view, my belief, it is life-changing. You're out in that cathedral of whatever God there is there, that great cathedral of the outdoors running. So I don't like going to a gym. I like to run, and I've had a great pleasure of being involved in the Queen's, the Dub Park Run every Saturday morning, helping out and running it. And that's a great community. And the park run's a great example of volunteerism and building community. So not only does it give me pleasure, but it's a way, I think, to meet other people. And an interesting thing, because in my view, I'm retired from politics, but when I do wrap doors at election time, people forget everything I'm ever involved in. They said, "Oh, you're the runner." And that's fine by me. That's fine by me. So as we all get older, we creak a bit. All our health's going to go down. Yeah. Poor King Charles is in hospital with his prostrate. I sympathise. I'm that age where I have a prostrate problem too. You got to get through it. We need a functioning health service, not one on its knees to do that. But activity, try not to drink too much. It's always a help, and it's very tempting. I usually don't open a bottle of wine without finishing it. So, try to drink less, get out, meet people. Those are the keys, and I'm delighted to see so many people out walking. And I'm a fan. I don't practice mindfulness, but I'm a fan of what Frank Liddy does, Mr. Mindfulness, and telling people to slow down and try and live in the moment a little bit.
I'm glad you got your run. You come in here in fine fettle. Let's take a short break there and head over to the doctor's surgery for a reminder about some ways we can be a little bit healthier.
My name's Dr. Alan Stout and I'm a GP. Today's Doctor Corner is about moving more and why our bodies and our minds do so much better when we do. We all know exercise is good for us, but at this stage in life, the word exercise can be an immediate turn off, so please bear with me. What I'm talking about is just moving a little bit more and sitting a little bit less. If you think about it, lifestyles nowadays mean we are sitting an awful lot. Many of us sit at a desk, we sit in the car, on the bus or train, and in the evening we sit on the sofa watching TV or looking at a small screen. We're far more inactive than we ever have been before. By moving less, we're not keeping our full range of muscles strong, and we're not working our hearts and lungs to pump fresh oxygen-rich blood and nutrients to all of our organs. It's no wonder we have sluggish digestion, clogged arteries, and an increase in disease, obesity, stress, and exhaustion. So we need to make up for this by actively trying to move our body more to keep it in good, healthy working order. As we get older, we're also starting to think about preventing dementia. It's worth remembering that what's good for our body is also good for our brain too. And when it comes to mental health, physical health sends out hormones called endorphins that help us to feel good. So moving more has proven benefits for our mental health too. Let's think about the combination of diet and exercise, or to be more precise, per diet and lack of exercise. Our diet has become more calorie rich, we're eating more calories or energy than we need, we're not burning it off through exercise, and the extra energy gets stored as fat, and hence we put on weight. Huge percentages of men are overweight or obese, and this is one of the biggest factors for an awful lot of serious disease. By paying a little more attention to the simple sum of calories in, and that's food, versus calories out, which is exercise, positive change can be made very quickly. Now, if you're putting off the thought of an ambitious gym or fitness program, how about just committing to walking more? Most smartphones include a step counter, and there are lots of very affordable fitness watches that count steps. Set yourself a daily target and keep track of your progress. Take note of how you're feeling as you get to move more. The recommendation is to do 30 minutes of activity at least 5 days a week, and this should be enough to get your heart and lungs pumping, but not so vigorous that you can't maintain a conversation. Try swimming or cycling, check out introductory sessions at local gyms, or join your local park run. These are for everyone of every age. Speed and ability don't matter, and they're a great friendly community. So go on, move more, sit less, and give your body and mind a boost.
AgeNI's Good Vibrations programme is for men over 50. If you or someone you know could use some advice or support on health, well-being or mental health, there's lots more information online at ageni.org/iConnect. That's letter I, CONNECT. Or visit ageni.org/good vibrations to sign up for monthly emails with expert tips and information. Remember, it's okay not to feel okay. The AgeNI Good Vibrations team are here with help and support.
You go to America a lot and have been for years. I've been quite, over 50 times maybe for myself as well. From like I've been going since the early 90s and stuff. America's view of Ireland, I think we always find that quite important. The view has changed a lot, hasn't it? The perspective of what Ireland is and what Northern Ireland is has changed dramatically.
Well, America's a very polarised society, so we think we have a problem.
Yeah.
You want to hear the language out there. They use about each other, and they had an insurrection. They had an attempt to overthrow democracy. Yep. We just had Michael Stone, which was an art performance.
Apparently
I'm a great supporter of Irish America, because Irish America delivered a peace process for me. I'm a great believer in debt, that you repay your debts. I believe they put a lot of money in the bank, or spiritual money in the bank. And I am someone who then wants to repay that, the Irish American, build those bridges. It's a very sophisticated society. There's a very blunt part of Irish America, but it also is the home, like Paul Muldoon's there. Seamus Heaney ended up his life there for part of it. So many of our artists have found refuge in the educational institutions there. Some of the greatest Irish dancers in the world are in America. The greatest traditional musicians are in America, and the great Irish American canon of writing. So I have a great graph for that, a great love for that. So I take that nice part of America and of Irish America, and it's been good to me. I fallen ban over a paper there in 2007, the Irish Echo, with Peter Quinn from Fermanagh. It has been a lot of hard work, but it's been rewarding, and I do like this transatlantic connection if it's mutually beneficial. I've been 150 times in the last, I think, 16 years. So I go maybe 10 times a year for 3 or 4 days, and you know, we bring the reality of what's happening here to them, and they have a lot of, you know, Irish America's more to do than look after us. So I enjoy the friendships I've built there, but and we each year now, as a 2014, we've run here at Belfast International Homecoming.
Yeah.
So we say if you're Irish and you're from Singapore, or you want to be Irish, why don't you come and find out what's happening here, really happening on the ground, and how can you contribute to your benefit and to our benefit.
Wow. You've had many achievements in your life, but I would imagine becoming mayor of Belfast was a big one.
Well, we're all only here for like a heartbeat, and we've all done great achievements.
That's something you always wanted. What I'm saying was that on your horizon? Was that a goal?
No, I have no interest one way or the other. But let's just talk about achievements. let's talk about achievements, because in the Andytown News, someone dies in Lenadoon, and say Mrs. McGlynn, she dies, and they say do an obituary and say, no, she never really achieved anything. I said she had 9 children. She lived in Lenadoon when it was a war zone. 3 of them went to university. 2 are postmen or postwomen. One's out in Melbourne working now. I said the achievements that ordinary people in this society have enjoyed, experienced, are absolutely mind blowing. So I don't view life as achievements or not. I think we all have milestones and so on. I think I am an ambitious person, but I don't either reflect on achievement for what it's worth. But I do believe that do your best. Do your best. So I had the great privilege when I was the Lord Mayor of Belfast, that a Buddhist chaplain, a guy called Paul Haller from Andytown, a real good Buddhist chaplain, go to Tulla Park. He is the abbot of the San Francisco Zen Monastery, the highest position in Zen Buddhism in America. And he agreed to be my chaplain, because I rang him up and said, Paul, you're 6,000 miles away, would you do it? And he said, I have great experience working with hopeless cases. So he said, I'm definitely going to do that.
That's a backhand compliment.
It was, and he did that, but he was, you know, I'm a great admirer of Buddhism and all they preach, but one of the things he said to me was, look, do your best. And I said, like, where in the holy books is that? He said, oh, my mother told me that. So I try to do my best in everything, and I've had many setbacks in my life, like all of us had, none as grievous as other people. So anyway, I'm putting achievements in, but the greatest job in the world is to be the Lord Mayor of Belfast. Greatest job in the world, and great privilege to serve. And I had such a great reception, and taught me this great lesson that if you want to make peace for the Protestant people, go halfway. Go halfway. And people meet you halfway. You don't move. Well, nobody else is going to move. But my experience was, including around commemoration and remembrance and all those things that are tricky for Republicans, that we went halfway and people were really generous. So it's a great generous people here. Just need to give them a chance. So that's my only lesson from being the Mayor of Belfast.
That seemed to be from the get-go. That seemed to be an intention of yours. It seemed to be something that was a reason why you want to be Mayor of Belfast. You wanted a bit of reparation, maybe, and a bit of outreach.
Yeah.
Seemed to be your message during that term.
I don't know if I wanted to be the Mayor of Belfast. Sinn Féin would be that egalitarian. They make decisions and then they say, will you do this job? And that's been true of why such an
But when you stepped up to it, you did it with gusto. I mean, you were very, very busy. You were at everything that year.
So,
you know what I mean? During your term.
Everything in life's a privilege. Getting up every day is a privilege. You know, being able to put your shoes on is a privilege. So and live life with gratitude. So yeah, I mean, you get a privilege to grab it with both hands. So I bought one of those wedding planner clocks which counts down, and put it in the parlour, which, you know, many days left and many hours left. Because if you get a privilege like that, use it right from you get up in the morning. And funny, like the first day I was appointed, it was black at night. There was no one in. I was down the office for it opened at 8 o'clock. I couldn't get into the parlour. Because, you know, I think it's such a great privilege, because you're serving the greatest city on earth, the greatest people on earth, people who have suffered more than anyone else. And, you know, I'm part of a past which was involved in being hurt and hurting people, not a hurt caused by Republicans. And that was war. In my view, it's gone. We're not ever going to agree on the past. We can never undo. We can never wish for a better past. We'll never undo those hurts. But if you're given a chance to be a titular leader, because the mayor has no power, the mayor has no budget, then grab it with both hands. So yeah, I try to do that. Yeah, for what it's worth.
What do you think we need to do to make a better future here? I know it's a big question, but it seems to be something that's it's on your mind a lot.
Yeah, well,
You seem very opinionated on it.
Well, we need to do the stuff, the stuff that moves us to the light.
Yeah.
So Buddhists don't complain about anything, by the way. So
see, for someone who says you don't believe anything, you quote Buddhism a lot.
Well, so people go out this morning, people say, I can't go out, it's too cold, it's too frosty. And what the Buddhist says, okay, wear different shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, go with it's not so frosty, which is the lagging toe path this morning. So try and stay positive. So, and edit out the negativity. Edit out the negativity was a great saying of Paul Haller. We need to do what we're doing, the good stuff we're doing, and stop doing the bad stuff we're doing. But we need leadership. Yeah. And Martin McGuinness, who I did admire greatly, when he was asked what is the secret of a peace process, wrote the word leadership on the board. So we need leadership. If you want to help this city, and there's so much great stuff going on in this city, absolutely outstanding work. The schools, the teachers, the hospitals, the people who are involved in mental health care, the sporting clubs, unbelievable. But they need leadership. We all have to do our bit on that, and then keep doing what we're doing. Keep building the peace. Keep fostering reconciliation. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. Treat people with dignity and respect and justice. Because I think when I was mayor, I forgot the justice bit a bit. I don't think I emphasised enough. That all the other things are great, but we've got to treat people well. We have to have a successful society. Anyway, that's my shtick.
I mean, what advice would you give for men such as us in the sort of second half of our life? What advice would you give to sort of stay healthy mentally and physically?
Well, you're very far from the second half of your life, but
I am.
And I'm very much advanced into the second half of my life. I don't do advice.
Right.
So what I do is I try my best to be as positive as possible, and be grateful for what you've got. Try not to focus on criticising anybody. People love to sit around having a pint of beer, criticising everybody. Just cut that entirely out of your life. So none of us are the Dalai Lama. None of us can really do that. But and enjoy what we have. I am a great admirer of Frank Liddy and Aspire and the Inspire mental health people and so on that deal with really people who are really badly wounded, and so many people badly wounded in this society. So to those people, we need to reach out and try and give that extra help, because I don't need any extra help, Joe. I'm okay.
Have you ever had to look for help yourself, though? Every time in your life you had to maybe get some counselling or something like that? Because you've had a very stressful life, in the games you've been in, media and politics and all that.
I've never had to do it, but I've been very close to people that've had to have help and assistance, and the most prevalent issue for young people today is mental health. The help I looked was different. I would go to people and ask for support. So like, can we calm things? Can we get stuff done? And how do we get through this next obstacle? And people were able to help me do that. Obstacles which were not mental health obstacles. And there are always people that are willing to help if you reach out. But I am deliberately trying to divide society between people like myself that are okay. I've done well, thank God, and I'm like everybody else have all my problems and heartaches and so on. But I'm going to be okay. But see, the people that aren't okay, we need to do more for them, and there are a lot of them, and this society created them. So for me, that's where our focus should be. Not taken away from what I'm doing, but we can't abandon people, and I feel that we are doing that, and with maybe those at the bottom of the pile, the least of these, as they say in the Bible.
I mean, you said earlier on you're someone who would be ambitious and throughout your life. Yeah. Do you think if you keep setting goals, that kind of keeps you feeling younger? That kind of keeps you having a challenge, helps you stay young?
Oh, you set goals every day. So I deliberately don't talk about the past. If I hate being introduced with someone saying he's a form of this and form of that, I would say, forget about your form. What are you doing now? Yeah. And then you find out you're doing fantastic things now. Yeah. So I always set goals. So I try to run 20 miles a week, which is 1,000 miles a year. And I feel last year, but I did have a hernia operation and I had a fractured knee and all the other excuses which Bill Evans and Boston would say. Yeah. But there's a goal. And yes, I do believe in being, say, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But I do think we should set goals. So I'm trying not to drink now until after Easter. So I was a bit of a holiday in Spain, which was lovely after the New Year. But now I'm not drinking Easter. Now, if I can do that, and maybe I won't even drink after Easter. I don't actually think that in my life, I don't think drink has made my life any better, but I love a drink. But I'm going to try not to drink after. So there's a goal. And then I've goals within my family. So I'm a big fan of setting yourself goals and stay and be employed. I'm a big fan of the dignity of employment, which is why I was asking you, what do you do to put food on the table?
Yeah.
There's great dignity in it, and saying, I work and I'm remunerated for my work. So I have lots of goals. I have business goals, I have personal goals, and some of them will just turn to dust. And some of them, the reason I was out this morning was I really want to hit this 20 every week. It's when I started the year. So if I didn't go out today, I would probably miss the 20 because I'm going to San Francisco on Sunday. I'm not going to be running that day.
Up and down those hills now. There's a lot of hills in San Francisco.
So goals, but get out. You got to get out. This. I mean, the city's so beautiful. The Titanic walkway is so beautiful. The Davis Hills are so beautiful. But get out with other people. And I'm glad to see people doing that when I'm up in the mountain very early, occasionally in the morning, very early. Like 5:30 in the summer, people are out walking with each other, which is great. And the sporting clubs deserve a lot of credit for encouraging mental well-being. I'm rambling again.
Yeah, you're basically about connection. Do you think connection is important for people? I think COVID kind of made us sort of fall into isolation a little bit. And it's difficult for some people. I think older people to kind of get back and connect. Do you think connection is important?
I think we're screwed without connections. Yeah. And I think that all this working at home is great for the guys that are raking in the money because they don't have to pay rents or build buildings or anything else or pay electricity bills.
Or run a country.
You
don't have to run a country. They're sitting in the house.
But for kids, it's I think it's poor, even though people very dear to me want to work from home, including one of my own sons. But for me, it's not a future. So get connected, and that's where sport clubs come in, and the choirs, the great choirs of Belfast, with a gay choir, with the Cave Hill choir, with the great gospel choir. So for me, we have absurd, egregious, horrible levels of self-harm and suicide here, and a lot of that. One of the ways to avoid it is to get people connected. So I think that many reasons for people taking their own lives, but being abandoned or feeling abandoned. So connections. I mean, so during COVID, I had the great fortune I could go into work every day because media was one of the frontline industries are accepted. All our journalists were home, but there was 3 or 4 of us in the office. And thank God I couldn't have done COVID any other way. So we need to connect more, and what AJ and I are doing, what you're doing, what Innovation Centre's doing. If we're going to turn into little isolated atoms, we're absolutely screwed.
Well, I'll conclude with a nice sort of seamless DJ link, as it were. It's nice to connect today. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Carl Wyatt. Thank you very much, Joe. Well done.
Before we finish off today, let's take a minute or two to pause with Owen O'Kane, who has some great advice on how we can be kind to our mind.
My name is Owen O'Kane. I'm a psychotherapist, Sunday Times best-selling author and former NHS lead for mental health. And today I'm going to talk about the importance of talking. Now that might sound like a really basic thing, but when it comes to mental wellness, many people don't speak about their difficulties, and that in itself creates a big part of the problem. Now, if you think about depression, for example, what we know is that depression is often linked to people suppressing or repressing emotions. So essentially they're not talking about stuff, and that leads to the problem. So from a very basic point of view, if things are bothering you, it's always really important to talk to someone about what's bothering you, because then you're not suppressing it, you're not holding it back, and it gives you an opportunity to process whatever's going on. And by process, I mean you're dealing with whatever's going on rather than trying to hide it away or not deal with it. Now, apart from processing, it's also important to remember that when you talk about stuff, it helps you create clarity. You feel less burdened, and more importantly, you feel connected to people. Very often, it's not uncommon for people to feel disconnected or lonely because they're not sharing their difficulties. So if things are bothering you, I'd really encourage you to consider talking through your difficulties. It could be that it's with a friend or a family member, or it might even be that it's with a professional. But when you are talking, you're not talking for the sake of talking. You're processing, you're dealing with the difficulties, you're connecting to another human being, and you're making a decision that you're not going to be burdened with these difficulties, that you're going to lighten the load a little bit. And this is the importance of talking. So today, if something's on your mind, share it with someone.
AJ Age NI are the local experts on later life. If you or someone you know is struggling to navigate the challenges of life after 50 and need information or advice on benefit entitlements, housing or care for a loved one, call the Age NI advice line in confidence 9 to 5, Monday to Friday on 0808 808 75 75.
That's it for this episode of How's the Form. Hope you'll join us next time.
How's the Forum is brought to you by Age NI and is part of the Good Vibrations Over 50s Men's Health Programme, which is funded by Movember.